From Bellingham down to Olympia, there have been multiple demonstrations across our region marking May Day. More than 1,000 people took to the streets of Seattle. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Molly Shen.
And I'm Preston Phillips. Any moment now, hundreds of others are expected to march to the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma. That's preceded by a rally in downtown. We have team coverage of today's May Day events. KOMO's Jeremy Harris is standing by in Seattle.
But let's begin with senior reporter Chris Daniels live in Tacoma tonight, where a march is just getting underway. Chris.
Just about to get underway, Molly, and good evening to you. We are in Tollefson Plaza, and if you look around, you can see several hundred people have gathered here in the heart of downtown Tacoma, many holding signs critical of the Trump administration and critical of immigration policy. As you mentioned, they are soon going to march to the Northwest Detention Center over in the Tacoma Tide Flats, the largest place of its kind here locally, where Immigrations and Customs Enforcement does a lot of its processing of people. This is video from earlier this afternoon, and you can see a cross-section of Pierce County, all sorts of ages and people that have come here to the plaza listening right now to music. We saw an interesting demographic. Thor Triggerson, he is of Kitsap County. He is a Navy veteran. He said he felt like he needed to come here on May Day to make his voice heard.
Vets Against Tyranny is just a group of veterans who share dissentiment with what's going on. I want to take the term patriotism back from people who just want to exclude and harm others. I don't think that's what patriotism is. You know, in the military, you take a vow, you swear to uphold the Constitution. And, you know, if our highest office isn't going to do that, then we have to do that.
We're all very moved by that.
And you are now looking back live here at Tollefson Plaza. This group is going to march north on Pacific in downtown Tacoma, east on the 11th Street Bridge, down St. Paul, and to that Northwest Detention Center, which has been in the news quite a bit as of late, as we have seen the immigration policy from President Donald Trump and his administration play out. We will be following these protesters along, have another update for you at 6 o'clock. But for now, live in downtown Tacoma, I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
All right, thanks, Chris. Local lawyers staged their own protest today against the FBI's arrest of Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan for allegedly helping an illegal immigrant elude federal officials. Protesters gathered outside the King County Courthouse and marched to Seattle's FBI building, asking for the charges against Dugan to be dropped and the firing of U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Dugan faces 2 federal counts of obstructing a U.S. agency and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. She's also been suspended from her role as a Milwaukee County judge.
In Seattle, activists gathered at Cal Anderson Park on Capitol Hill today for the We Make America Work rally before they set out on this big march through the city. KOMO's Jeremy Harris has been tracking this protest all afternoon and joins us live from downtown Seattle now. Jeremy.
Molly, the protests here in Seattle today easily into the thousands of people attending. Those have, for the most part, wrapped up, but you can see just across the street here, there's a group of Seattle police. These are from the POET team, which is the Public Order Engagement team, and they're the ones who deal with protests like today. But thankfully, everything remained peaceful, and it didn't seem like there were any issues for the police and the protesters here today. Now, let's show you some video of what things looked like just a little bit ago. We were up at Cal Anderson Park for a couple of hours. That's where things kicked off here in Seattle today. There was a large rally with thousands of people attending. That was put on by several different unions who were there to celebrate May Day. Of course, May Day has a history going back well more than a century to celebrate and advocate for workers' rights. That was the theme of the message today, but there was also a heavy message about immigrants and some of the struggles they're going through right now in the U.S. And here's some of what we heard from people who attended.
This fight is about freedom. This is about dignity. This is about power.
Seeing all of these faces and knowing that every face there is a story, that we are all coming together across our different backgrounds and origins for the same fight really fuels me with a recommitment to the work ahead.
So after about 2 hours there at Cal Anderson Park with that rally, that's when the march got underway. They marched through the Capitol Hill neighborhood, came down across I-5 into downtown Seattle. They were near Westlake Park for a time, and then that rally and the march ended up here at the Federal Building, which is right on the corner of 2nd Avenue and Marion and Madison as well. So everything here that we could see from our vantage point, we had crews that were with the crowd. We had a drone team looking over it, as you saw some of that video. Everything to us, we didn't see any sort of issues, any acts of violence or vandalism, which is a huge win, especially for Seattle police. That they were bracing for what could potentially be a very large protest, which of course they got. But Seattle police were ready for everything. We know they activated the city's emergency operations center ahead of today. But just within about the last 30 minutes, things back here at the federal courthouse, or excuse me, at the federal building on 2nd Avenue downtown, things wrapped up here. Most everybody has dispersed at this point, and it looks like all the roads downtown right in time for rush hour. Everything is back open. Reporting live downtown, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. And as Jeremy just mentioned, the city of Seattle shared this photo of its emergency operations center. At 1 this afternoon, the city activated it to support operations relating to May Day events and actions. This is to help the city better coordinate if anything gets out of control.
May Day demonstrations have also been happening all around the country. KOMO's Mary Nam joins me with more.
Molly, from coast to coast, demonstrators took to the streets for a wide range of reasons. Many were driven by organizers of the 50-51 movement, which is short for 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. That movement is in response to the Trump administration's flurry of moves over the first 100 days in office. Crowds in Los Angeles marched through downtown today, carrying signs urging the government to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. And in Washington, D.C., Seattle Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal spoke at a rally there, demanding answers from the Trump administration regarding the revocation of student visas and the deportation of U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents.
To rounding up legal permanent residents and people with legal visa status simply because you disagree with what they say in a country that is supposed to have free speech for everybody.
In New York City, the first May Day protest of the day was a mix of several different causes, with chants of Free Palestine and more typical worker rights signs like Trump hands off our unions. There were also protests around the world on a variety of issues, from Central America to Asia and Europe. Molly.
Mary, thank you. That brings us to our KOMO Pulse Poll tonight. Just scan the QR code on screen to participate. As we're asking, what do you think about May Day? Here's a live look at the results. You can see most people responding tonight. 57% say no opinion, just another day. 23% say good celebration of spring, and 20% say good day for activism, protests. Again, if you'd like to weigh in, scan the code that's on your screen. It'll take you directly to the story on KOMOnews.com.